You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of What If Deku Meets Powerpuff Girls? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of ChiWriters on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Blossom then mentioned about when it seemed they were going to be destroyed, they emitted a new energy that cancelled out him's attack and wound up in this place. She purposely didn't mention anything else about their births or powers in detail, as not to give too much away. Nemuri was bewildered by the explanation of the girls. Not just that they were superheroes at such a young age where they were but of the sort of villain that they face on a day-to-day basis. She could not tell if the girls were lying, which only made it scarier to think that such evil exists and they fought it. She already knew that these girls were strong, but how strong? As for Nizu, nobody could tell what he thought of the girl's story, even after Blossom finished telling it. His face didn't show any emotions other than a small flicker of unidentified emotion on his face before quickly passing as if it wasn't there at all. Bubbles could sense that he was rattled with certain emotions, but who could blame him? She decided to ask the question that all three girls had on their minds. "Do you believe us?" she asked. "Perhaps, you are telling the truth. I know better than to dismiss your first-hand experience. It is certainly jarring to think that you girls, on top of fighting that villain him is it? You managed to have enough energy to take on a battle that you so to act upon without the worry for your safety. But my biggest question would be, where is him now?" he asked. "We don't know. I wish we did. But we've been here for 2 days, knocked out apparently. And we don't remember if that creep came into this place with us or not." Buttercup spoke up. Nizu nodded in understanding, his brow furrowed in deep thought. This is quite troubling indeed. For if a being of that great power could open a vortex, it is concerning to say the least. And the fact that we don't know if he arrived with you girls or not is also alarming. Nizu said. The girls hesitated. What will they do? This was serious, for they had no way home, and the fact that they neither know if him was transported with them was an unnerving possibility on its own. Though the girls could not admit it, they were now shaken by him's ploy to destroy them, and if it wasn't for their lucky stars and the new move they did, it would have ended badly. Just then, Nizu looked towards Nemuri, while speaking again to the girls. How about you let me and Nemuri talk about it for a few moments? You girls can stay here. The girls looked confused at this, and especially Midnight looked confused. But after a moment, the look of confusion passed on her face and stood up. Will it be okay if we leave you girls alone here for a moment? She asked the girls. That's fine. Blossom answered. Nizu smiled. Great. We'll be back. And with that, Nemuri and Nizu left the room and stepped into the hallway. As soon as the door closed behind them, Nemuri jumped right into her question. Do you actually believe them? She asked. Nizu didn't hesitate to nod. Their story makes sense. What other explanation do we have for it? There isn't even a city named Townsville in America. In OUR America, anyway. Ryukyu nodded. I agree, but the whole situation is quite surreal. We basically have 3 super-powered girls in that room that have proven to hold their own in a fight. They are from an entirely different world than the one here, and the being that sent them to this world could be just as dangerous if not more from the girl's description, she finished. Ms. Kayama, you don't have to remind me of the impossible, for we basically live a world of vast and incredible possibilities. I am a talking animal. The world is made up of people with strange and wide range of powers, that some can do things that defy the laws of physics. Let us be open-minded about this whole crazy predicament, shall we? Nizu said, in a way calm and straight tone. Yes, you have an excellent point, sir. Nizu nodded. I know. That is why I believe them. We have to anyway, for this could be deadly situation that has come about, especially if this creature could well be in our world right now and seeking these girls to finish them off. With a slight touch of worry in his voice. But we have to also realize that the public eye is not so pleased about these girls showing up out of nowhere and using their quirks illegally. The police would want to detain these girls, and that in it will already be a problem on itself. Midnight said. I understand where you're coming from, Ms. Midnight, but I assure that I have a plan that will resolve the issue soon so the girls will not have unwanted attention on them. Nizu said with a little smirk. She did not react but simply gave a slight nod. Nizu saw it and placed a paw on her arm. There are many more things I want to do, but finding accommodations for the girls is top priority as of now. They will also need new identities, so as to better fit into this world properly. That is why I asked you to come, Ms. Kayama, facing the woman. Me, sir, are you sure about that? She asked, quite shocked. Yes, Midnight, I am. For I can't think of any other person for the job other than yourself, and I have a good feeling that the girls could benefit from a strong female role model to guide them while they are here. He explained. Although Midnight was caught off guard, she was not against the idea of housing the girls and keeping them safe. Yes, sir. These girls saved my life and they have good hearts. I can imagine how it feels to be scared and without help, so I want to help them too. Besides, we can't take the chance of many people finding out, or those with evil intentions can get to them, she said. Very well. We shall inform the girls of our decisions and make the necessary preparations to get them settled, he said. I believe these girls might be a new generation of heroes we might surely need. Nizu thought with a small smile. Another 2 days passed before the PPGs could be allowed to leave the hospital fully. Though they were insistent on being released once they were already up, claiming to be feeling much better now, mostly Buttercup complained, but were still held back as ordered by Nizu himself. This was to give him some time to persuade the media and police to drop the whole vigilante case. With the girls' help and knowledge, he managed to start the process of documentation and keep them out of further investigation than they already needed to be. He also came up with the story of how the girls were transfer students, who upon arrival were to meet Midnight, but their ride was delayed and had to walk. They stepped in to save her when needed. It still didn't stop the chief of police from chewing them out and lecturing them on the importance of following the law, to the girls at worse than the times they would get lectured by their dad. This was to throw off the fact of them not having any paper trail on them. And it worked. The media died down after finding a new story. The police are still on high alert, but have dismissed this as a teaching moment between student and mentor. The girls were relieved to find out the good news on discharge day. They could not deal with the media attention and the thought of going to jail again. Nizu told them that the foster papers will be ready in some months' time, and their personal documents will be made and added into the system. He also told them that even though they already had a last name, they would need to change it to best fit the whole plan, if they want. At first the girls not so willing to change a bit of themselves, but they knew that it would be a bit suspicious and hurt the mission. At the end of it all, the girls all agreed to go along with it. They had their own group talk to see if each one of them was okay with the arrangement, hoping for no hard feelings. Although they each said it was weird and a bit earth-shaking, for it cemented that they really were somewhat stuck here, but reassuring themselves that they always had each other. Yeah, it was a big change, but it doesn't change who or where they came from. They gave the alright to Ms. Kayama. With that, the girls were officially the Kayamas. There was also the detail of registering their quirks, as to better put them in the system. The girls, being informed of their accommodations and guardian placement, were pleasantly surprised that Midnight would foster them from here until the foreseeable future. The girls were still a bit to themselves when getting the news and meeting her again the third day, knowing nothing about her or if she is good as she claims she is. Bubbles was one of the girls that trusted her straight up, claiming that she could feel her kindness and good heart. Though the other two were skeptical, they learned over the years together, to trust one another's intuition, more so in trying times when all they had were each other. It was around 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. The girls were picked up by a taxi from the hospital to take them to Midnight's home, as she would be busy for a few hours but promised to see them there. The girls were pretty anxious, even Buttercup, for they were on their way to a strange person's house, in a world they are not familiar with. The ride was relatively quiet for what seemed like hours but was really 30 minutes. As the taxi made its way through the city, the girls were brought out of their silent trance to admire the sights and buildings the city had to offer. As the taxi made its way towards the designated location, they arrived just in front of a house. They swore that their house back home was half this size, and even that, it was just the front view. The house was located just at the far east of Mizurufu, a long way from the beach if you walk but accessible by transport. The girls regained their composure as they arrived on the premises. As they stepped out of the taxi, they were greeted by the host. "Well, hello girls. I take it that the ride was pleasant?" Midnight asked. The girls were also shocked to see that she dressed in very normal clothing, namely a simple long black t-shirt and thigh-high shorts. She had her hair in a messy ponytail, but essentially drew the girls' attention was the blue mop slippers, giving them an idea as to she was cleaning. "Please come in, I have a lot to show you and we have a lot to discuss," saying that the girls made their way through the doors to a world of change. Making their way in, they could not help but admire how cozy the hero's house was. It may be big, but it felt homey from the looks of it, being that it was cleaned well. The girls realized that even heroes have to come home and do chores, a concept not lost on them. "Well girls, I know you must be a bit tired from your travel and such, but I want to give you all a tour of the place, where the rooms are and all that before lunch is served," Midnight cheerfully said. "You made us lunch?" Bubbles asked. "Of course dear. I wanted to welcome you all to my home, and what kind of host would I be if I didn't prepare something up?" The house was a 2-story. The downstairs included a kitchen, dining table, living room, study and a guest restroom at the far corner. Upstairs is where it had 4 bedrooms, one is Midnight's and the other 3 will be up to the girls to choose amongst themselves. The rooms were pretty spacious that all 3 of them could room in, but they opted to have their own space, granted the rooms were adjacent each other. Each room had a small bathroom to freshen up, a bed, closet and table. She then showed them the training room outside that she uses to work out and get in shape. It was another outdoor room connected to the house. It was filled with different workout tools such as weights, sparring mats, treadmills, yoga/meditation mats. When all was said and done, the tour ended and they made their way to the dining table. As the girls sat down at the dining table, they could not believe the sight before them. Breakfast in Japan was totally different than back home. On the table, Midnight prepared some traditional Japanese breakfasts, including rice, miso soup, grilled fish such as salmon or mackerel, pickles such as cucumber, plums, and radishes. Other dishes included natto fermented soybeans, raw egg to put on rice, and tamagoyaki rolled omelette. There were other stuff like bread, pastries, eggs, and cereals available. Midnight was already dishing the girls food, to have options, in case they did not like a particular thing, when she realized that the girls were pretty silent this whole tour. "Girls, you have been unusually quiet this whole time. What's wrong? I want to make clear that you are in an environment that you are free to talk," she said kindly. After a few minutes of silence, someone spoke up. "Ms. Midnight, it's nothing bad, everything looks great, but if I am speaking on behalf of my sisters, it's just that we still can't understand the situation we are in," Blossom said. "Yeah. It sucks, and at the moment we feel powerless to do anything to get back," Buttercup exclaimed. "And the worst part is that we are separated from our home, and the people of Townsville must be in trouble without us there to protect them," Bubbles finally said with a sullen voice. "Oh yeah, Townsville, we would still have left if him wasn't in the picture. Professor was this close to kicking us out, but I guess he got his wish," Buttercup said bluntly, making Bubbles almost shed tears at that. "Buttercup, that is not how it is, and you know it." Blossom exclaimed with narrow eyes. Oh please, the man wanted us to be on a plane to another continent so that he cannot deal with us anymore. Buttercup snapped back. Enough, Buttercup. That is not true. Bubbles yelled with fallen tears. Oh, I am only saying the truth that Professor clearly didn't low dash. Before she could finish, a light calming mist swept over the room and replaced the tension that hung in the air. Midnight's Quirk somnambulist allows her to put nearby people to sleep by exuding a sleep-inducing aroma from her body. Her quirk worked better on males than females, being that it mostly calms them to a more subdued composure than being knocked out. And that was what it did at that moment. Seeing as the girls seemed much calmer, she spoke. Now girls, I won't sit here and pretend like I understand what you all are going through, but what I can do is assure you that you are safe and have allies here who will help, like me. I also would not be too mad at your father. You all don't know what went through his head, and though it can't excuse what he did, fighting and hurting each other will not solve anything. You only have the family you have now. She said with great sympathy. The mist was dispersing and the girls seemed to have eased down. By their looks they seemed embarrassed by their outbursts. Buttercup cast her gaze down as she said, "Look guys, I am sorry for what I said. It's just hard to accept this whole thing. With a lot of remorse." The girls knew when Buttercup apologizes, it's hard for her, but she does it because you know she cares. It's alright Buttercup, I know we were all stressed and scared. Blossom said, placing a hand on her sister's shoulder. I also understand that you never discussed about what Professor did and it was shocking, but I don't believe he doesn't love us. Beside the reasons, Buttercup, like you said, when we stick together, we are stronger than ever. Saying that, Bubbles went in for a side hug. Buttercup, not being too touchy-feeling, still welcomed it as she needed one. Of course Midnight couldn't help herself. The love that you have for one another really turns me on, she said with fondness. Yep, that was enough to kill the moment and cast all eyes on her. Seeing those faces, she composed herself and explained how it is just a side effect of her quirk and other details involving it being her own take. Well, the girls were either understanding Bubbles, thought it was intriguing Blossom, or just weird Buttercup. Ms. Midnight dash. Girls, you can call me Ms. Kayama, Midnight is my hero name and I would rather not hear it when I am at home, she said with a small smile. Ah yes, Ms. Kayama, we would like to thank you for your hospitality and housing us. We know it must be a bother to take in all three of us, seeing that we are strangers, Blossom said. Nonsense Blossom. I understand that you girls needed help, and while I am a hero, I am also a human being that even though the situation is bizarre, I understand that it can be scary, so please, it is my pleasure, she declared. Thank Ms. Kayama, we really appreciate it, Bubbles said with cheerful smile. It's no problem darling. Yeah thanks, Buttercup said. That's quite alright. Now, let us eat, for we have a lot of other things to discuss and plan for the day and your stay. Not wasting more time, the girls tried the dishes. They were not used to this style of breakfast, but aside from spending days in the hospital, they learned to enjoy their meals. Did not help that it was hospital food. But this more than made up for it, happily enjoying Ms. Kayama's cooking. The following day, as the girls woke up, they opted to sleep together as to handle their first night outside the hospital room. As they went downstairs in the white nightgowns borrowed to them by Midnight, until they could acquire their own later. Breakfast was waiting for them, with pancakes, eggs, sausages and cups of hot green tea. They thanked the chef and enjoyed their meal. Later on, Ms. Kayama gave them the rundown of things they will need to learn and understand about this world they have come to be in. She explained that she wanted the girls be more familiar with the laws, news, history, and basically the current situations of Mizurufu. She mentioned about the study they saw along the way and suggested that they read up on the topics she mentioned, to better understand their environment, mentioning that she had some books and articles that will help. Aside from Blossom, the other girls were not looking forward to studying at the moment, but begrudgingly accepted, in order to not have trouble with the law again. The four ladies went on an outing with Namuri to buy some stuff for the girls. The girls were excited to get some clothes other than their hero uniforms. Even Buttercup was excited about the prospects of shopping. Guess it was an innate girl thing that she didn't want to admit to anyone. Oh well. Namuri is a very reasonable woman, even if some of her actions beg to differ, but it doesn't dismiss that she also human and sometimes, we all need to take a day off and have some personal time. Being that, she told her agency that she was to have a few days off and to be informed if anything came about. Luckily she had great sidekicks to pick up her work while gone. As they made their way to some of the shops, the girls quickly dispersed to check out different areas of the clothing department. Midnight soon realized that even though the girls were triplets, they were totally different, aside from their personalities. Blossom dress choice was more of a conservative, preppy, smart choice of fashion, donning clothes such as tights, knee-length skirts, button-up clothes, no dresses though, and those of varying shades of red, pink, the occasional teal, white and black. Though Namuri had a very generous budget for all of them equally, Blossom had a knack for picking out the best things on budget and choosing certain clothes that fit most occasions without drawing too much attention. Buttercup was different than her two sisters, being that she opted for clothes that dwell on function, comfort and just plain tomboy work. Her colors were varying shades of green, black, brown, the occasional neon colors like yellow or purple. She wanted shorts, jeans, long shirts and sportswear. To Namuri, she didn't mind at all how she could judge others' fashion sense when she literally wore basically nothing years back as her hero costume. Bubbles' choices struck her the most as she opted to get some basic clothes such as skirts, shirts, and dresses but would buy various colored fabrics and certain sewing kits. She did not mind purchasing for her but questioned why. Bubbles would rather create her own clothes than buy them. She finds it more fun to design her own stuff most times than to look for things she would probably not find. Blossom told Namuri this as they were on their way to another store. Suffice to say, these girls were completely different from each other. A month has gone by with all the girls living under one roof. The PPG slowly got used to their lives and day-to-day activities. It was rough at times for each of them, being that they felt homesick and for some of them, itching to kick some butt, only satiated by the gym and occasional spars with one another. The girls' documents came in and they were all happy to at least have some form of ID, to get the police of their back. Did I mention that the nice detective always made it a point to check on the girls, to see if they're up to any funny business, which proved annoying rather than helpful. Now that the girls have the right papers, they were able to move freely around the city, after much begging to Midnight. She was unsure if letting them roam around was such a good idea. Yes, she did teach them about the transport system and she gifted them 2 phones, not Blossom being that she already had a phone, and some pocket money in case of emergency. But she relented when she realized that they could take care of themselves out there and it was better than cooping them up like porcelain dolls. Mama Bear unlocked. Like seriously, they are not so fragile. The girls hugged and thanked her, leaving a warm feeling her chest. Is this what being a parent feels like? A smile crept up her face. It was a fine afternoon, with the sun shining bright and the streets no so busy at this time. They went sightseeing, exploring the shops they once were and others that they each wanted to check out individually. When all was said and done, they went to a small cafe that was said to have yummy cakes and pastries. The girls, even when they were younger, always had a sweet tooth to them. As they quickly ordered and paid for the treats, they made their way outside to enjoy their food on the outdoor table under an umbrella. Blossom ordered a slice of strawberry cake, a tart and a bubble milk tea. Buttercup got the 2 slices of death by chocolate and a green tea. Bubbles decided to get a dozen cookies, and an iced tea. All 3 girls were minding their own business when Bubbles heard a commotion around the corner of the shop. She left abruptly, leaving the girls wondering why until they stood up to follow her. Bubbles made it to the scene to witness, "Leave me alone. I didn't do anything." A little boy shouted, held down by 2 big-looking kids. Tough talk from someone who is quirkless. Why don't you make easier on yourself and leave this world alone? Honestly, quirkless loser like you shouldn't even be alive. They laughed while the boy was at the point of tears. That was all it took for her to take action. "Hey you big jerks! Leave him alone!" she yelled, bringing all the attention to her. The boy, whose cheeks were already stained with tears, looked up with some hope in his eyes. "This doesn't concern you, girlie." "Yeah, how about you leave us to talk before with mess your pretty face, MK?" the one guy said dismissively. Not missing a beat, she sprang into action. With a couple of flips, she made her way to the villains. Before they could react though, she sent a kick to the first guy's chest, barreling into the wall. The other guy, now focused, dropped the kid, fists turning red and hot, lunged at Bubbles. She jumped out of the way of his attack. She made her way over to the kid and raised her force field. The guy was busy trying to break through when he didn't notice someone behind tapping his back. "Excuse me, but what the hell do you think you're trying to do?" the feminine voice asked. "How about you mind your own f-dash?" As he turned, before he could finish, a punch made contact to his face and knocked him clear out. "Geez Bubbles, next time you plan on fighting some guys, how about you wait for us first?" Buttercup said. "Yeah, sorry about that," she said, actually apologetic. "Well, it's no problem, at least it was to help someone out." As she was talking, one of the other guy stood up and made a break for it. But he did not make it far before being lifted by a glowing aura. "And where do you think you're going now, buddy?" Blossom asked with a raised glowing hand and a scowl on her face. "Let go of me, you dumb girl. I didn't do anything." The boy was thrashing in her hold. She just sighed. Well, what a way to end a day. As the other girls made their over to her, with the boy in tow. The girls were able to tie up the two boys and secure them to a dumpster. From the young boy's description. The two punks are seniors at his middle school that find it funny to pick on powerless individuals, classic bully complex. "Thank you so much for helping me back there. I deeply appreciate it." With that, he gave each of them a bow. "It's no problem. It's what good people do," Bubbles said with a reassuring smile. "But still, not many people care about quirkless individuals like myself," the boy said with hints of sadness in his voice. "Quirkless? Is that what they refer to people without powers?" Blossom asked. The boy looked confused at that question. "Yeah, it's what society calls those that have no powers. Usually, if you could say, are the ones that are looked down upon." Blossom read something about quirk discrimination from one of the books and online. It was very jarring that many view so highly of ones with quirks and the rest are looked to be minority group, if a nicer term for it. "By the way, are you three sidekicks or heroes?" the boy innocently asked. The girls looked at each other before answering. "We're neither, kid," Buttercup said, "according to these world standards." "But, you used your quirks without a hero license. Aren't you scared of getting in trouble?" he asked, worried for his saviors. "It's fine, kid, no one saw us, and besides," Buttercup said, not really caring about the so-called laws. "You just have to do the right thing, even without permission." The boy looked shocked, but quickly recovered with a happy smile. "Right," and with that, the boy waved them off goodbye and left. The girls went back to salvage their food and take them home. They walked along a road to a near bus stop. "I am glad that our food was still there when we got back. I don't like wasting," Blossom said, carrying her to-go bag as well as her other sisters did. "Honestly, if Bubbles was running to save a cat stuck up a tree, I would have been pretty irate. Chocolate is something you don't mess with," Buttercup said, a threat, knowing well she was teasing. "Hey, I would still have gone, it was a cute little kitty," Bubbles said with a fawning smile. They all just giggled at that. It wasn't a total waste and they saved a boy from being bullied, so far a pretty great day. As they were walking along, their voices were drowned out by sirens coming from a fire truck. It was heading towards a burning area. Without thinking twice, "Let's go check it out, girls." They ran towards the danger. In the midst of them was a crowd of people. They asked around for what is going on, but many people didn't pay them any mind. It left to push through, or rather Buttercup to push, while Bubbles and Blossom trailed close behind. Making their way through the yelling people, they could finally see what was going on, and oh boy. They were witnessing a fire break out in front of one of the apartment buildings, but not just that. A slime creature was in the midst of the flames with a boy trapped inside him. The girls shocked to say the least. Looking around, they recognized some of the people as pro-heroes. Then why are they not going to save him already? Before they could plan what to do, they heard a hero shout out, "Don't you idiot, you're going to get yourself killed." Effectively onwards at a green-haired teen running towards the danger. From what the looks of it, he was going to save the hostage. Boy's POV. He was doing his best at clawing the slime villain off the struggling hostage. As he did so, his life flashed before his eyes. He couldn't help but smile at the one who is trapped. "Kaken, I couldn't just stand there and watch you die," visibly shaking. Right then, the slime villain had enough. "Get away, you runt," swinging an elongated slime punch down at the boy. Time seemed to have slowed down, with the heroes now taking action. The boy was bracing himself for impact. Boom. There was nothing. Looking up, he saw why. A girl was blocking a fist that was aimed straight at him. "Not so fast, ugly," the girl exclaimed. At that, the boy was in shock. Normal POV. Buttercup, being an impulsive hero she is, flew to the scene with a green glow. Buttercup, with her sisters calling out to her. And making it just in time to block the monster's punch, with a thud. "Not so fast, ugly," she exclaimed while holding off the creature. Looking down, she saw the boy was unharmed. She also many civilians as well as the heroes were frozen in shock at some girl. Basically a kid held her own against an attack like that. "You okay, dude?" she asked, only getting a shaky nod. Turning back, she scowled and gave her undivided attention to her opponent right in front of her. "Ah, a strong little girl. How about take over you instead? Fat chance creep." She swatted the goop off and reaching in, she grabbed onto the hostage's shirt. With a tag, she yanked the boy out of the creature. "Now you've done it. Come here." Making his way to the girl. Buttercup was raising two green fists on guard, waiting to fire away, until an icy stream hit the creature, letting out an angry shout. Bubbles came in and gave a punch that not only pushed but shattered pieces of the villain to the floor. Two fists collided with the raven-haired girl's shoulders. "What were you thinking?" screamed the two sisters in anger and worry. Before she could reply, the slime monster came back. He raised his hand again to hit the now three girls on guard until some buff guy stood in the middle, to block the next attack. I really am pathetic. Some little girl had to risk her life, so to give me time and finally save you all. They girls only narrowed her eyes at that comment. Detroit smash. With that, he sent shockwave punch causing vacuum vortex, clearing out the flames and destroying the monster. There was a moment of silence, until everyone started cheering for All Might. Gushing at his strength, changing the weather with a single punch, resulting in rain. You would think that such acts of heroism were to be rewarded. Well, that wasn't the case in this world unless you have permission. And at times, you realize that some heroes who don't understand your powers can feel threatened by you, so threatened in fact, that they talk behind your back. And that is what the girls experienced. After the dust died down from the slime attack, the authorities came on to the scene. And when they were informed of three girls that oddly fit their description, the officers were more than glad to take them in. As they girls were being escorted, they heard many whispers about them, but they were definitely not their fans. "You see those kids? Yeah, there's some wannabes who thought it would be cool to play heroes. The girl's strength-enhancing quirk is okay but nothing too flashy. I know, right? Poor little girls, they know nothing about being a true hero." As the girls were settling in the car, someone came up. "Thanks for the assistance, citizens, but how about next time you stay in school and leave the heroics to the big guns?" He left off, giving a fake-looking smile that made the girls see red. Okay, this means war. When the girls got to the station, they were all mostly Buttercup in a shouting match with the officer. He would want nothing more than to put girls behind bars, but knowing that Nizu had his eye on them, made him step back from his plans. The shouting would have gone on for longer if said Chimera and Guardian didn't just step through the door. Nizu sighed. That's alright, officer, you may go now. We'll handle it from here. With that, the officer left with a slight glare that was not lost on anybody. With him gone, the real interrogation can start. What were you girls thinking? When I allowed you all a day out, I didn't think I meant do something illegal. Midnight was first to speak. The girls flinched but still kept silent. Indeed, girls. I did warn you all a month ago about illegal quirk usage, and now, sighing once more, we meet in the very place I did my best to avoid for you. He concluded. There was still silence in the air after the two had basically grilled the girls about their actions. Both adults confused by their silence and asked, well, do you girls have something to say? We want to be superheroes. Was so faint as a whisper that neither could tell who said it. I beg your pardon, girls, what did you say? We said we want to be superheroes. They stood up and announced. It was now the adults' turn to be silent. But the girls didn't stop. We don't agree with the system that this so-called government has built. We find it ridiculous and quite frankly biased, Blossom said with arms folded. We understand that there should be some rules and regulations in place, but... Bubbles said. We are already superheroes. But if we have to show these bunch of idiots that we are, then I say, bring it. Buttercup declared with a fist raised. So tell us how to do it. They all declared. It seemed like seconds turned to hours until a reaction came about the adults. With Nizu flashing a grin that could not be suppressed. With Midnight, she felt like she was about to cry, not from sadness but of joy. Seeing that, from the past month, she and Nizu talked about enrolling the girls into UA but wanted it to be their choice. And oh, they were so happy that the girls made it. Nizu composing himself but keeping his grin, very well, girls. If you want to change this world so badly, then I say welcome to UA. For a moment the girls did not understand, until the cogs in their heads spun and they had a collective thought. School! They all exclaimed. It was time for bed, but the girls all gathered in Blossom's room for a meeting. Buttercup, wearing a green tank top and PJ shorts, was lying face down groaning. Is it too late to back out of this deal? Bubbles in a blue nightgown, snacking on her takeout cookies. Hey, you're the one that wanted some action and to kick some butt. You got your wish granted. Said in between chews. Ugh. She groaned. Come on, Buttercup. We would still have gone to school, sooner or later. At least this is a hero school and it will help us grow further in our profession. Blossom was wearing long-sleeve pink pajamas, at her vanity, brushing her hair. I get that, but it's school. She continued to whine. You have a point there, but there is nothing left to do. We just have deal with it. Besides, Ms. Namuri assured us that it would be fun and we have 10 months before the exams. Bubbles finished her snacks. Honestly, if it was any other school doing that, I would deem it highly counterproductive. Blossom rolling her eyes at it. Well, I guess they want those who were not privileged to work on their powers, to get some time in between. Bubbles said. Anyway, if it gives us any chance to shut those geysers trap up, then I can suffer this sacrifice. Buttercup said dramatically. Bubbles jumped on her, with an oomph. Oh, Buttercup, you are really a hero for going through this pain for such a noble sacrifice. They all burst into laughter. All right, girls. It's late and we have a training scheduled tomorrow at 7. So would you please get out? Blossom with all the sweetness she could muster. But deep down, she was dead serious. Years of living together has taught them to never mess with Blossom's beauty sleep, ever. So they all said their goodnights and made their way to their respective rooms. For tomorrow is their start to their new goals. More months have passed since the girls' decision to enroll into UA. Midnight and Nizu couldn't be happier at this step for them. The girls did relay to them that they already had battle experience from their own world. They did not go into depth about it, but they honestly said that it was quite dangerous. The girls have been training for the exams, for both their written and practical portion. Though Namuri did give them advice that the practical part was worth more concentration, but it didn't mean that they should not focus on their studies, quickly shutting down Buttercup's plans to breeze through it. Namuri did give them the option of recommending them in, instead of going through the hassle of the whole exam process. She basically told them that any well-known hero could recommend it a student that they deem highly exceptional to enter into the school without going through the general exams. Although they will have their own exam, it would still guarantee them a spot at UA, no matter what, so long as they prove their mettle. The girls did give it some thought, but in the end, they wanted to go through the regular exam. They wanted to prove themselves and show what they can do, whether in the classroom or the battlefield. They were going to show some serious girl power. That was the response that Namuri was counting on. She knew the girls were skilled enough to enter into UA all on their own, and she knew they knew. With a satisfied smile, she planned out the girls' workout. Basically the first week would be the girls showing her what they got, through close combat, quirk use and creativity in all those fields. She was pleasantly surprised by their individual skill and powers. She did notice some drawbacks in certain areas of their performances. From there, she assigned each girl a regime that focuses on the areas they can go further and areas they are lacking in. Certain areas such as control, fighting skills, concentration and tactics. Dagoba Municipal Beach Park. When the training started, the girls were each given areas where they will need to work on, either individually or as a whole. Some would need to work on their focus when using their powers, while others would need to keep on improving their physical abilities, reminding them that you can't always lean on your powers. While the other girls were busy doing some sparring matches with Midnight at home, Buttercup seized the opportunity to do some runs in the morning, often as far as the beach. She would often run in her yellow and green Ombre Sports BR and shorts. She has been running for the past 3 months since training. Honestly, she would rather focus on that than studying, but she knew if she wanted to get into that school, she would have to buckle down and put in the effort. In the past, she realized the unkempt area was just the place to practice her more wide-range abilities. She would stop by the beach and practice some basic workouts that required some heavier sets. Seeing that the beach was filled with trash and other forms of garbage, she saw it as an opportunity to not only help with building up her resistance in strength training but her other power, without getting into trouble due to little no one being around. As she stood across from her makeshift target dummy, she took a deep breath as was taught to her, raising her hands out, green energy encircling them, she aimed and fired. Boom! The green plasma beam fire destroyed the dummy that was mere moments there. Continuing in her attacks, she ended up destroying all 15 training dummies with ease. Feeling satisfied with the outcome, she went on to working it into a more combat format. Taking her fighting stance, right, was all she said, till she engulfed her hands and performed martial art attacks to the garbage surrounding her. She stopped to catch her breath. Yeah, that was awesome, she exclaimed, while picking up the water bottle she brought with her. She was about to go back to training until, ouch, was heard from a different area of the beach. She found it strange that people were around, but she was hoping she wouldn't get in trouble for breaking the law. Anyway, she went to inspect if anyone was in trouble. She navigated her way around the landfill and got a glimpse of the situation. A guy with messy green locks of hair was being pinned down by a large piece of scrap metal, and from the looks of it, he was not looking so good. Ugh, gee, get this thing off me, he cried out while using every strength of his growing muscles to push it off. He went and gave one more push, to find that it was seamlessly floating above his body. Wait a minute, how is this possible? Am I getting stronger than I thought? But I have only been training for 4 months and I am yet to receive one for L-. Hey, are you alright, dude? He brought back from his thoughts by a voice. Looking up, he got a glimpse of his savior. Why yeah, thank you for helping me. Stuttering, he gave a quick bow. But then he realized who the girl was and went on a babble fit. Oh my stars. You're the person who saved me and my friend from that slime villain 4 months ago. I didn't get a chance to properly thank you for saving our lives. I wanted to thank you earlier but things were already crazy and the heroes were mad at me for pulling that stunt. Oh, I wanted to ask about your quirk. Seeing that you were strong enough to knock that monster off you. Was it a strength-enhancing quirk? But it doesn't the green glow on your hands or it could be a way to activate it dash, he was immediately cut off when Buttercup placed a hand over his mouth. She was feeling annoyed at this point. Honestly dude, firstly you need to take a breath and slow down. She sighed before continuing, secondly, it was no problem man on both fronts, I was busy training and heard you might need help. But what the heck were you thinking with that and without a trainer? She asked, gesturing to his makeshift workout area. Looking embarrassed he said, sorry, it's a habit, looking to her gestured direction. I am busy training, so I may get into UA and my C coach is coming soon. He said with determination. Buttercup mulled over what he said, so he's also going to apply to. But by the looks of it, he looks to be gaining some muscle, she thought to herself. Well that's cool, so am I, saying that casually. Oh that's amazing. With your quirk, I am sure you will get in, he said enthusiastically. She gave a nod. Anyway, do you got a name pal? She asked out of courtesy. Oh right, sorry, my name is izukumidoriya, pleased to meet you again. Once more with a bow. Well my name is Buttercup Kayama. He was thinking he heard that last name from somewhere but didn't think much about it. Oh that's an unusual first name. But it's nice is what I mean. You're not from around here I may say? He awkwardly asked. Buttercup didn't know how to respond but diverted, yeah just knew and whatever. Anyway, I was busy doing combat training as well. You down for a spar? You see, I am just building up muscles, me being on a strict workout regime. Not really focusing on any fighting styles yet. He said feeling quite embarrassed. Well that's just stupid. She said it with deadpan expression. Waha. Flabbergasted and hurt by her response. Look, I get you're trying to get some muscles before the big day, but not knowing how to fight is pretty stupid if you're aiming to be a hero. I don't know anything about your quirk, but what I do know is that if you don't have a powerful ability or moves to back you up then you're as good as not entering, crossing her arms at that. Izuku was stunned. He understood that he was building muscles so as to obtain one for all, if not then he would be unfit to be its vessel but could she be right about the combat practice? Yeah maybe I am stupid to think that. But I am going to get into UA, I owe that to myself, he said with conviction. Buttercup just stared at him till, ha 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 ha. Izuku looked stunned once again. Why are you laughing at me? He asked with a surprised expression. Putting herself together, she said, nothing dude. It's just that you're kind of funny, no offense. Anyway, don't ever give up on your dreams pal. Giving an encouraging smile. Izuku feeling mentally exhausted, why yeah thanks. Buttercup was just about to leave when she had an idea, whether it was a good one or not, is left up to whoever is up there. Look, I usually run here at around 5 in the morning and leave at 8. So if you are here earlier or something, I can teach you some moves and help you get stronger. Basically I get some sparring done and you get a feel for some combat, she offered with a shrug. Izuku's could have gotten whiplash from how fast his turned at the offer. Really, you want to help me? He asked in disbelief. Yeah, just thought it would be better to not have to worry about your sorry butt and save you from those death traps. Look, do want some help or not? She asked impatiently. Yes, I would greatly appreciate your help Kayama, bowing down furiously. It's just Buttercup. Anyway, I think I will leave early now. See you tomorrow Izuku. With that, she left. Yeah, bye. Waving her bye. Not too long did Mr. Yagi walk back to Izuku as he waved her off. Young Midoriya, why are you not training? Do get back to it. He said seriously. Oh yes sensei. I was just getting a breather sir. I will get back to it. Rushing off to do his training. Looking in that direction of the passer-by, I think I know that person. Anyway, might not be important, he thought to himself. He went back to coaching. Midnight's home. Right girls, that was a good set for the morning, let's rest of and we can start on breakfast. Great! Bubbles exclaimed, getting out of her yoga pose. I am so in the mood for some pancakes. What about you Bloss? She asked. Blossom was busy doing her meditations. Focusing on the 10 weights she telekinetically lifted in the air. After a couple of minutes, she was done with her exercise and slowly let down the weights. Yeah Bubs, I'm hungry as well. Getting up her knees, towards the stairs. When they reached the inside, they were helping Midnight with prepping. We better make extra for Buttercup, you know how she gets after a workout. Blossom said. Like seriously, her metabolism has always been higher than all of us four combined. Bubbles added with some giggles. Girls, be nice. It's perfectly reasonable to be hungry after a workout. The way you three have been working hard, I have no doubts you will get into UA. Midnight cheerily said while prepping. Speaking of which, I hope she won't be coming later again. Last time she came back around 11 a.m. Bubbles complained. I know girls, do keep in mind that she only runs about 3 times a week, and so you girls. Interjected Midnight. Yes, but she takes longer with her runs. Blossom added. Okay, fair point. And just then, the door opened and in comes Buttercup. Hey guys. She announced as she walked in. Whoa Buttercup, you're home early this time. Said Bubbles. Yeah, usually you get back around 9-11 the latest. Blossom quipped. Ha ha ha, yeah. Well I saw fit to come back. I met another person training for the UA exams, and let's just say I suddenly became a part-time trainer to him. Making her way over to them. Are you sure about this dear? You already got a lot of work here too. Midnight said with concern. It's fine. Besides, he seemed to need all the help he can get. Besides the coach he got struck me as an idiot to not also focus on his combat performance, so yeah. She concluded. Well it is really nice of you to help. A grin on Midnight's face. The other 2 girls eyed each other and giggled. Buttercup noticed and with a raised eyebrow asked, what's so funny you two? They stopped giggling for Blossom to say, oh nothing. Just wondering who this mystery boy could be to get your help and attention. She said with a sly smirk. Don't you even start Red. I am just helping because I find it ridiculous and don't want to see him get annihilated. He looked so pitiful when I gave him a reality check. Yeah. One of Buttercup's famous gym pep talk, don't know why he looked down. Blossom sarcastically said. Buttercup didn't even respond to that, giving an eye roll. I hope we get to meet him soon. Bubbles excitedly said. Now girls, there will be plenty of time to discuss about Buttercup's soon-to-be boyfriend, before said person responded, right now let's get breakfast on the way and we can start our day, shall we? Everyone agreed and Buttercup groaned a yes. But loudly proclaimed, he is not my boyfriend. To the giggling audience. And days go by with their everyday lives. The girls keep practicing, studying to be prepared for the exam in a few months' time. Buttercup continues runs within the weeks that follow. She makes sure to train with Izuku for at least an hour, right before he has to undergo his own training regime. She teaches him some basic self-defense moves and added advanced martial art moves, being that he is getting in shape from the previous workouts, Buttercup didn't have to start slow. Most times, their sparring matched would be Izuku getting a few bruises around his abdomen and chest. She would apologize for getting rough with him, but he would brush it off as training mishaps. Their training was not an everyday thing, being that they had conflicting schedules, but Buttercup was happy that aside from the green bean's muscle growth, he could do some basic blocks and at least deliver a few strikes. She was no martial arts teacher, and though she was taught, she has never really been the tutoring type. The day of the exam has arrived and the girls couldn't be more excited as well as a bit nervous. True that they have dealt with tougher situations than this, but exams have always had that hold on people's nerves. Midnight took the girls with her, escorting them to the location of the exams. When they arrived, Midnight wished them all the best as she made her way to her post. So the girls went. After the written exam. "Ow, my poor brain." Bubbles grumbled as she left the exam room. "And I thought fighting monsters was brutal. Those eggheads have no mercy." Buttercup complained as she went on rub her temples. "Oh girls, it wasn't so bad," Blossom cheerfully said. Getting death glares from her two sisters. "Right. I will keep that to myself," Blossom sheepishly said. UA was not only the top hero school in Japan, but it boasted some of the best academic scores in the nation as well. The written test had clearly demonstrated that with the amount of subjects it covered as well as the depth they went into each of them. Still, even with their sore brains, they girls still believed they scraped enough for a pass, some more than other. The girls were heading to the lecture hall to be informed of the guidelines of the practical portion when one of them recognized a familiar face. "Yo Izuku!" Buttercup yelled to him. Looking to see who had called his name, he finally saw an old face too, plus new ones. "Hey Buttercup, it's nice to see you here. Are these your friends?" he asked curiously. "No, Green Bean. These are my sisters. My oldest by a few seconds, Blossom, and the youngest, Bubbles." The two girls gave a friendly wave that was well received by Izuku. "Well, let us get into the lecture hall before we are late," Blossom said impatiently, not wanting to miss the important info. "Relax, Red, we will make it just in time." The two walk off in a fast pace, leaving Izuku to a scheming Bubbles. A smile plastered on her face. "So, Izuku was it?" Izuku was startled, forgetting about the other sister for a moment. "What do you think about my older sister Buttercup, seeing that you guys are friends at least?" she asked nonchalantly with bated breath. To say he was caught off guard is an understatement, especially when she clearly said that she thought he was friends with her sister. "Well, I couldn't really say dash," he was interrupted before he could answer, to the disappointment of Bubbles. "Bubbles! What are you saying to him?" Buttercup yelled from across the path at her sister. "Nothing," she quickly said, turning back to Izuku. "We will finish our talk next time." Smiling at the boy as she skipped away, leaving him confused and a little bit scared. Making it in time for the breakdown of said practical portion of the exam, they quickly found their seats. With Bubbles and Blossom a row up and Buttercup seating next to Izuku, by his left. As the loud man, known as Present Mike, begun talking, Buttercup couldn't help but call Izuku a nerd at the back of her head when hearing him talk about the guy. They were all told to flip over their cards and find their site placements. Buttercup found out that she would be placed in Battle Center B, with Izuku, as well as finding out that all her other sisters would be in different centers, so as to not seek help from friends. Wasn't really a bother to them, as at the end of the day, they would all receive individual marks. It was said that during the practical exam, candidates conduct mock battles in replica urban settings. Examinees are given 10 minutes to use their quirks to immobilize robotic villains in order to score points depending on the individual robot's point value. The more points one examinee earns, the higher their chance is to get accepted into UA High. Candidates are not allowed to fight other candidates. Doing so results in disqualification. Students hailing from the same middle school are placed in different testing areas to avoid potential cooperation. Other than scoring villain points, judges monitoring the exam reward rescue points for heroic acts. This criterion is not shared with the students, so they are motivated towards genuine selflessness. Just then a tall spectacled boy raised up his hand to ask a question. prompting some to groan in impatience. Hit me. Present Mike said. On the printout, you've listed 4 types of villains, not 3. With all respect, if this is an error on official UA materials, it is shameful. We are exemplary students, we expect, droning on, he went. Buttercup felt as though the guy would give Blossom a run for most stuck in the mud student at this point. Additionally, you with the unkempt hair. Her focus was drawn back to a new confrontation. You've been muttering this entire time, stop that. If you can't bother to take this seriously, leave, you're distracting the rest of us. Chastising him harshly, he finished with a annoyed glare that made Izuku feel quite small. Without thinking she stood up. Excuse me, Mr. Stick Up Your Ass. Back off from including the termus into your rant and lay off the boy alone. I don't see anyone else complaining, do you? Buttercup claps back, causing other students to giggle in response. This leaves Ida a bit bewildered, but before he could reply, Present Mike first asks everyone to settle down. He addresses Ida. Wow, you must have sensory-enhancing quirk because I couldn't hear anything from that young man you're singling out, and since I am not complaining about any noise, maybe you should too. This leaves Ida embarrassed and stuttering, but Present Mike is not done. Now to your answer on, so may we continue? Ida, feeling awkward, just thanks him and sits down defeated. This brings a small smirk to Buttercup, and Izuku just mouths a thank you, which she mouths, no problem. Bubbles is seen giggling at that, with Blossom showing a small smile, Bakugou just tsks over that. Afterwards, they separate their different centers. Buttercup and Izuku find out where they are to go, as they have the same markers. Buttercup overhears Bakugou threatening Izuku if they were in the same area, then knocking him over. She wonders, what's the guy's deal, and walks over to him to see if he's okay, but stops in her tracks to see a brunette checking on him instead. Test Site B. Okay, as Buttercup and the rest of the other applicants were waiting outside. She mentally prepares herself. Okay, Lee's whoop some dash. Start. Present Mike called out loudly from where he stood on a platform at the top of a tower, his voice reaching out across the large testing grounds and to all the various groups of applicants. Everybody in Izuku's testing group froze up for a moment at the sudden start. What are you waiting for? There are no countdowns in real life. Run. Go, go, go. As Buttercup entered the area, she wasted no time in finding a robot to bash. Target acquired. Eliminate. The machine intoned, and Buttercup couldn't help but grin as it moved towards her. Seeing a one-pointer robot, quick as a bunny, she gave a powered-up punch, smashing it to pieces. A bang went off and the one-pointer now had a hole in its head. The machine collapsed to the ground and Buttercup lowered her hand. Looking around, she saw more robots. With a glint in her eyes, fire in the hole. She released a green energy and flew into action. Leveling 3-pointer robots in her path. Target acquired. Rang out over a dozen times as all the bots noticed her and took aim. Not giving them a chance, she released waves of her energy at the metal heads. Holy SHT! What was that? Another examinee yelled, having apparently arrived just in time to witness Buttercup's attack. She paid the guy little attention before he jumped back towards the rooftops to continue hunting. In the teacher's viewing booth. That's my girl. Midnight exclaimed as she was proud to see the girls taking this so seriously. The said girl seems to have a strength-enhancing quirk, as well a plasma emission quirk. Quite the powerhouse she is packing. Ectoplasm stated as he watched the Buttercup. She seems to be enjoying herself. Vlad King questioned as he looked on. Now I remember this young lady, Toshinori thought to himself from the back of the room watching the raven-haired teen fight. She is that same girl that protected young Midoriya and company. I'll need to keep an eye on this one. The #1 hero thought to himself watching her run across the mock cityscape. I think we have a few other promising heroes. Snipe called out, motioning the other teachers to look at the other monitor. Everyone besides Midnight were having their mouth agape. Test Site C. Bubbles jumps from one spot to another, dodging the laser attacks from the robots. She stops at a point and releases a sonic scream that decimates all the three-pointer robots that surrounded her. She was about to run off, when her eye caught on to a bird being chased by a one-pointer robot. She didn't need to be a mind reader to make out from the frantic tweets that it was in distress. It didn't take long for her to bounce off into the direction. Coming down, she gave a concussive force punch. Turning to the bird with a soft smile, "Tweet tweet, are you okay, little one?" Getting a soft tweet in response. Just then, a tall, broad-looking guy, with a muscular build and peach-colored skin. His head took the form of a rock, which was unevenly shaped and pointed at the top of his head, and his jaw was square-shaped. What really stuck out to Bubbles was the fact that multiple birds were either perched on his shoulders or flocking around him. He walked up to the blonde girl, obviously shy. Hello. Thank you for saving my friend." Gesturing to the bird in her hands. She was just staring, which was obviously rude of her, but she couldn't stop staring at the guy in front of her. She found it adorable that the birds trusted him enough to be by his side. Unfortunately, the awkward stares caused the young man to feel self-conscious and stammer something incoherent. Bubbles, finding her manners, blushed a faint shade of pink, before handing over the winged creature. And flashing an embarrassed smile. She was about to apologize, when she saw another three-pointer robot at a distance from where they were standing, readying to fire. Taking a serious face, that made the shy boy flinch, she jumped over him and gave another sonic scream that shattered the robot. Satisfied with the work, turning to finish her conversation, the boy was gone. Where did he go? She shrugged at that before leaving to acquire more points. Wow! That little girl may look sweet, but she has a mighty strong voice. Present Mike commented as the teachers looked at the teen. Test side A. Normally A's would be Blossom's ideal letter, but at the moment she was finding it completely difficult, like seriously, the fake road was littered with damaged pointer robots. Finding one that was remotely alive was seemingly futile. She managed to tackle at least two one-pointer robots, but anything else was up in the air. She was grouped up with glorified buttercups that left nothing in their trail. Ugh, so annoying. She spoke aloud. There has to be something I can do, or else I will not even make it into the Gen Ed class. Giving some serious thought, she knew she needed a bird's-eye view of the whole site to even put her plan into action. She released a stream of cold air and putting her telekinetics into action, she created a tower of ice that shot up into the air. The people around were in awe of what was happening. Some thought she was showing off, planning to waste time, exhibiting her powers, while others caught a glimpse of her strategy. Now high up, she could properly scope out the scene. Where are those, there? She exclaimed, seeing a dozen or so pointer robots of various points. She wasted no time, digging deep to complete the task. Her ponytailed hair began to flap as if a breeze had made its way to her, hands covered in a strong pink glow. And as she opened her eyes, her pink irises were shown glowing. She directed a wave outwards, sending forth to her intended target. In a matter of time, pointer robots for miles were floating in the air, each covered in a light pink glow. Many people were dumbstruck by this. Some were wondering if it was part of the test or if the time had gone out. Some saw the direction of where the robots were going and followed to see the situation. Teachers viewing booth. Many of the teachers were at this point shocked at the level of ability the red-haired examinee was showing. Does this girl have an advanced form of telekinesis? Cementos asked in shock, looking at Midnight's direction. I shall never tell. Midnight said playfully. But Nizu could sense that something was off about her. Oh dear. You are pushing it too far, aren't you? Mentally questioned himself as he stared at the monitors. As the robots were making its way to Blossom, focusing one last time, she gestured her hands to shatter the robots in the air. While doing this, a certain red-haired, shark-toothed teen was watching in amazement. When Blossom finally, deeming it enough, destroyed the robots, she was happy. Taking huge breaths, sighing, well at least that could have dash, not being able to finish, she was feeling the backlash of what she did. Oh show dash, she fell off her podium, hurtling straight down to the ground, where screams of panic were met. Oh no! Midnight screamed from her spot. As did the other teachers. Before she could make contact, the said teen swooped in the nick of time to catch her. They collapsed to the ground, with her still safely in her arms. Midnight took a deep reassuring sigh of relief. She would need to go to the medical bay room, as to await Blossom, after the exams. I see. Well, we will have to deal with that little issue if you are to fully reach your potential, won't we? Nizu smiled to himself. Power loader, it's about time, and I'm interested to see the examinee's response to your creations. Yes sir. Power loader grinned as he flipped up a plastic cover over a big red button. Ready or not kids, here they come. With that he pushed the button and loud rumbling was heard at all of the test sites. As Blossom was out cold in his arms, a thought had passed through his mind, wow, that was so manly. Test Site B. Buttercup was having too much fun that she almost forgot about how much time she had left before the exam was up. She mentally calculated that she got at least 55 villain points. She was about to get back to it, but suddenly the ground started shaking beneath her. Does bubbles have something to do with this, was her initial thought until she saw a huge robot emerging. She thought back to one of the robots that was said to have no points in the lecture room. This might be the one. Buttercup was mulling over the possibility of just fighting this rust bucket for fun, but something stopped her from such a reckless act. Right under a mound of rubble was a girl trapped beneath it. Before she could sprint over and help, a familiar mess of green hair ran over to help her. Izuku. With that, she flew forth, and seeing that no one was around for risk of casualties, she released a beam of energy at the robot, pushing it back a little, in an attempt to slow it down. Settling down, she was just about ready to deck this thing. Buttercup, you have to get to safety. Izuku's voice carried to her. Turning back to retort, she was stopped, seeing that determined face he had, as was a strange energy was flowing around the boy as if he was going Super Saiyan. She deduced that he was going to take down the robot himself. But being Buttercup, she didn't want him to have all the fun, and when he sprung into action, she was not far behind. Both teens were emitting their own respective glow, one giving off veiny red lines and the other a green glow. They retracted their respective fists, and with enough force. They punched the zero-pointer so hard, that its head broke into 1,000,000 pieces. Buttercup saw the pained expression on the boy's face as well as his injured arm. She caught him in her arms, before landing down safely. Looking at the unconscious boy, she couldn't help but have a newfound deeper respect for the green being. She cast her eyes down to see his bruised, swollen arm. She placed her hand on his arm. A greenish-yellow glow shone from the area, and just after a couple of minutes, the injury was healed. And stop. Present Mick's voice was heard throughout the testing grounds. The exam is over. Teacher's viewing booth. Those two destroyed the zero-pointer to pieces. Almost every teacher present questioned loudly, while Nizu laughed, not entirely sanely, as he watched the zero-pointer cease to function. My, all three of these kids are rather impressive, aren't they? Especially that young boy. Nizu remarked, seeing all of his staff staring wide-eyed at the screen. Did she just heal him? Recovery Girl asked as she looked at the team. It would seem so. 13 replied, her distorted voice still managing to come off as shocked. Nizu, I would like to meet with this girl, she has a gift and I would like to know its extent, to further train her. Recovery Girl informed the principal. This new outcome could favor the school and help those in need. We can most definitely inquire. Nizu, the odd, chimera-like principal, replied with a smile, his eyes never leaving the screen following Buttercup. All Might was just silent. I am so proud of them, Midnight mused to herself. After school. Half an hour passed since the exams had ended, and the girls as well all the other examinees went for a checkup with the school nurse. Buttercup. And Bubbles were made to wait an hour before Blossom could even leave, due to her mind shutting down and needing to recharge, a concept that was not too foreign to both girls. The patient was brought in by a red-headed boy with sharp teeth, just wishing their sister a speedy recovery and to take it easy. Buttercup was around long enough to see Izuku awake, and with the all clear, he was sent home. But he thanked her for the help, all she said that is was no problem. Though he didn't know that she healed him. Oh well. Blossom was groaning as she woke up. What happened? My head. Feeling a growing migraine coming in. You wouldn't have had that headache if you didn't push yourself too far. Both sisters yelled at the patient, further causing her head to hurt. 1 week later, Midnight's home. The girls were in their individual rooms, doing their own thing when Midnight called to them come down in excitement. Girls, it's here. Midnight exclaimed as she called up from downstairs at the girls' rooms with the letters addressed to them. It was from UA, but sadly for Midnight, she could not be told of the contents directly, due to conflict of interest. One by one, they all stormed down like teen hurricanes. Each one thanked her before taking the letters and heading to the living room. Girls, you may open it together in the living room or in your respective rooms, it's up to you. They all decided to rip the band-aid off and just read it all together, making a beeline to the couch. As they were reading their papers out loud, they cheered for each girl passed the written exam. Blossom, 100%. Buttercup, 63%. Bubbles, 88%. Then they all looked at the disc before it lit up and got a hologram to appear in their living room. Hello, Blossom, Buttercup and Bubbles Kayama, I'm Nizu, the principal of UA High School, but I believe we have already met. Nizu smiled. I'm happy to inform you that you all passed the practical exam score. As for the scores, please look behind me. The chimera pointed to an electronic board that turned on, showing their pictures and scores. Practical exam score. Blossom Kayama. Villain points, 100. Rescue points, 20. Total, 120 points. Practical exam score. Buttercup Kayama. Villain points, 55. Rescue points, 30. Total, 85 points. Practical exam score. Bubbles Kayama. Villain points, 49. Rescue points, 16. Total, 65 points. As you can see, you've all performed very well. And Blossom is the new record holder for highest score, in fact. Nizu congratulated with a smile on his face. I'm pleased to welcome you all to UA High School, Kayamas. This will be your hero academia. We did it. A scream so loud erupted that you could swear that they were using Sonic Scream or Bubbles was. Thus began the tale of the Powerpuff Girls in the world of My Hero Academia. Unknown location. Red eyes look down into an unfamiliar pool of water. A claw is raised, causing a swirl of red clouds to form a makeshift mirror, used to spy on the suspecting victims. The signal is weak, but the being is able to flicker to different channels, showing random people. Feeling annoyed, he is trying to find the targets of his wrath. With one more turn, the channel is placed on the objects of his longing. Not getting a pinpoint location, but it will have to do. Oh girls, I am glad you are enjoying your time of peace and happiness. But be very aware that I am still not done with my little projects yet. Ha 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 ha. An eerie tone was carried out. And with that, the signal is lost. Weeks passed since the girls were told of their acceptance into UA. After their initial burst of joy from the girls, they made no haste in their preparations for the big day. With the help of Midnight, they were able to get their class schedules, get their sizes measured for their uniforms, PPG clothes and other needed materials. As it was the first day of going to UA, and the girls were super excited about the whole thing. But some things never change when it comes to getting ready. Girls, get a move on. Or we'll all be late for school. Midnight called from the downstairs. We're coming. Blossom said, while getting a strange sense of déjà vu. The girls were all sorting one or two things. Whether it be their dressing, styling their hair or even packing their respective bags. They were not really late but were just advised to come along with midnight so that in any event of an emergency, they would be able to find their way back. As they made their way downstairs, each wearing their regulated school uniforms. Consisting of a long-sleeve, button-up white shirt, a gray jacket with blue-green stripes, a red tie, a dark blue-green pleated skirt, and a small, golden button on their ties. Blossom wore gray leggings under her skirt, Buttercup wore tight shorts that were visible under her skirt and Bubbles wore fake knee-high tights. Midnight was so happy that she pulled all three girls into a bone-crushing hug, lasting more than it should. If they weren't late before, they sure will be if this hug goes on long enough. They soon arrived with an hour to spare. They all could not believe that this was happening. Granted, they never dreamed of enrolling into a school that trains heroes of the future in another world, but they had to make the most of their current situation. Alright, see you later. I have to run for a meeting before orientation. Have a great day at school. Midnight waved back at them as she disappeared off into the opposite direction. The girls gave their reciprocated waves goodbye as they started off their journey. Alright ladies, let's head out. Buttercup marched forward with utmost surety until. Buttercup, do you know where we are going? Bubbles asked. And so was her older sister's ego deflated before it could rise above. The girls were wandering around the huge campus, trying to locate their designated homerooms. They were busy bouncing ideas off each other when they spotted a familiar mess of curly hair, or as some nicknamed him, Green Bean. Hey Izuku. Buttercup spoke up, getting the boy's attention. Flashing a nervous smile, he walked over to the three interesting sisters. Hey girls. Gee, good morning, he nervously greeted them. Blossom gave a small bow as to show respect while Bubbles enthusiastically waved him a hello. Hello Izuku. We seem to be lost and we were wondering if you have any idea as to where Class 1A may be? Blossom politely asked with a smile. Oh. I was just on my way to the classroom myself. We can all go together. He politely offered in turn. Sounds great. Buttercup replied, as they followed the boy on his way. 1A, 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 there it is. Izuku smiled at finally finding his classroom. UA was a massive school and he'd almost gotten them lost. A helpful upper-class man had kindly pointed out the way for them and given them a thumbs up before leaving. They were able to make to class with 10 minutes to spare. Standing before the door, Izuku took a deep breath and exhaled before opening the door and stepping into the room. As they opened the very doors, there were familiar views that made the green-haired boy's stomach drop and the raven-haired girl roll her eyes. Take your feet off that desk, immediately. The same blue-haired teen demanded as he chopped the air. It's an insult not only to the people that made it, but also to our seniors who studied here before us. You're kidding me, right? Bakugou sneered back at the other teen. Did your old school put a stick up your ass, or were you born with it? Just my luck, Buttercup and Izuku sighed in defeat. Did the universe have it out for them or something? It's those four. The blue-haired teen spoke as he noticed Izuku and the girl standing in the doorway. TCH. Bakugou scowled at Izuku from across the classroom. All of the other students in the classroom, the majority based on the fact that only a few seats were empty, looked towards all of them at the same time. The girls were a bit uneasy from those stares. Some were of critiquing nature, while others were of nervous smiles. The girls were unsure if they did anything wrong or what. Good morning, my name is Ida Tenya, from Semi-Private Academy. Ida introduced himself while chopping the air to Izuku. I'm Izuku Midoriya, it's nice to meet you. Izuku returned the greeting. Hello, my name is Blossom Kayama and these are my sisters, Buttercup and Bubbles Kayama. She introduced herself and sisters, only to be met with some whispers. She did not understand but went forward. Making his way to address the red-haired girl, pleasure to meet you. I was very impressed by your record-breaking achievement at the entrance exams, Blossom. Ida stated, and Blossom felt her cheeks redden slightly. Oh, thank you. Blossom replied nervously. Yeah, that's the girl who moved all those pointer robots with her mind, so manly. A red-haired boy said to a blonde guy with a black, lightning bolt-like streak in his hair. This caused Blossom to feel a bit more proud of herself. Buttercup and Bubbles gave an eye roll at how this might fuel her ego. Tenya, noticing this, gave back his attention to the two familiar green students in front of him, giving the other two sisters the opportunity to find their seats. I also see that you two destroyed the zero-pointer robots as well, even when did not need to. I guess your excessive rambling must have been you two planning your strategy for the practical exams. Honestly, I feel a bit foolish to have disturbed you like that. He gave a low bow to the two as he gave his apology. Izuku, feeling a bit embarrassed, was about to say something when Buttercup stepped in. Well, thank you, Four Eyes. It takes a big man to realize that he was wrong and over the top when he calls out a person in a public area just to feel so superior about himself, she said with an uncharacteristically soft voice that held sarcasm. That crack did not go unnoticed by many people. Ida was shaking a bit as he straightened up, possibly from the disrespect. Izuku was stuttering, finding the words to say sorry, while some snickered at it or gasped. Bubbles was off, on her way to look for an empty seat when she spotted one at the back, second row close to the door. Not only that, but it was situated behind a familiar-looking guy with an all-too-familiar bird. As she stepped closer, she gave a friendly smile. Hi, I'm Bubbles, and what is your name? She asked while looking at Kuda. He stared with wide eyes, looking around. He felt unsure. Finally gesturing to himself. Still keeping her smile now with a giggle. Yeah, silly. We met at the exam day and I helped your little friend over there. Lightly stroking the bird over his head, it reciprocated by nuzzling its head into her fingers. She giggled some more, and to the boy's amazement, she began tweeting to the bird, as if she could speak its language. Surprise, surprise, she could, and the bird fully understood. At the end, Kuda was really flustered, but Bubbles, being herself, without noticing, just sat down behind him, waving off her new little friend. While Bubbles was being oblivious to the stares from some of her more masculine classmates, her green sister was busy dealing with another form of annoyance, and she came in the form of a bubbly brunette. She was just rambling on to Izuku, barely even paying attention to the two other classmates. Although Buttercup could not help sighing at the obvious nervous expression given off by the green bean next to her. She then looked over the two to see a moving sleeping bag. If you're just here to make friends, then you can pack up your stuff now. The man said with deadpan voice. Now that the three paused, they turned their heads slightly to catch sight of the being the voice came from. Welcome to UA's hero course. With that, he slightly opened his sleeping bag and drank an unknown flavored juice pack. This was met with all except Buttercup, with a shock/frightened expression. What is that thing? Was the thought of everyone. Standing up, the man addressed them. It took 8 seconds before you all shut up. That's not gonna work. Time is precious, rational students would understand that. This left Buttercup to raise her eyebrow at that. Hello, I'm Shota Aizawa, your homeroom teacher, he said in a less than enthusiastic voice that made everyone shocked with the news. Riffling through his sleeping bag, right, let's get to it. Put these on and head outside. He pulled out some clothes. The girls gave each other a glance. What is up with this guy? In another part of school, Yagi Toshinori was looking over a book labeled Teacher's Directory. UA's course doesn't follow the normal academic path, he sighed. Get the wrong homeroom teacher and life is hell. He worriedly thought. The class was now located outside, adorning their school-regulated track suit, much to everyone's confusion, but really set off the bar was. What? A Quirk assessment test? Everyone exclaimed at once at the news. But orientation, we're going to miss it. The bubbly brunette spoke up, feeling confused at the change in schedule. Aizawa spoke up, back turned to his class. If you really want to make the big leagues, you can't waste time on pointless ceremonies. That got majority to stiffen at that. Here at UA we're not tethered to traditions, now facing them. That means I get to run my class however I see fit. Leaving them even more dumbstruck. You've been taking standardized tests most of your lives. He pulled out a device. But you never got to use your quirks in physical exams before. While he was busy talking, the girls were sharing their opinions at the worst time. In a whispered tone, and I thought the teachers here were going to be more energetic than this. Buttercup addressed her youngest sister. He must be really tired, Buttercup, Bubbles responded. Blossom turned to them. Guys. Hush, or we will dash, she was interrupted by the somber man. Blossom Kayama, I don't know how they do things wherever you and your sisters are from, but here in my class, we normal don't interrupt when a teacher is speaking. Understood? Feeling a bit embarrassed, Blossom just nodded. Now. You managed to get the highest most points on the entrance exam. Getting her straighten up and focus. What was your farthest distance throw with a softball when you were in junior high if they did do that? Taking a moment to recall, she gave her answer. 52 meters, sir. Right, try doing it with your quirk. Handing her the ball. She then appears in a circle, for where she will throw the ball. Anything goes, just stay in the circle. Go on, you're wasting our time. With a nod, she prepares herself. Focus. Let's not overdo it like last time. Let's go. Opening her eyes, she began. She activated her telekinesis, emitting a pink glow that transferred onto the ball, raising it a few inches above said hand. People were watching attentively, wondering what she was up to. The ball spun around her, as if she had her own axis before she flung her arms back like a pitcher and sent it flying high into the sky. Shot like a comet infused in pink aura. Many were slap-jawed by this, while a particular duo. Not so much. Welp, I think Red is showing off. Think it's time to let off the kid gloves. Buttercup nudged her sister in a teasing fashion. Knowing full well that it was not happening, she merely rolled her eyes at her while looking back at the scene. All of you need to know your maximum capabilities. Looking down at the device just when the ball landed, which was a distance tracker, it's the most rational way of figuring out your potential of a pro hero. He concluded while showing everyone her score. It was 850 meters. Leaving everyone amazed. Whoa, 850 meters, are you kidding me? The blonde with a black highlight in his hair. I want to go, that looks like fun. Exclaimed a pink-skinned girl. This is what I am talking about. Using our quirks as much as we want. A kid with weird elbows also piped in. Cool. Awesome. Fun. You think my class is a joke? Mr. Aizawa glares at them harshly. Buttercup can already feel a chill that wasn't from her red-haired sister OSHT, she muttered. You have 3 years here to become a hero. You have 8 physical challenges to compete in. And how about this for a laugh? The person who scores last gets expelled. Everyone is surprised at that. Udare can't do that. Right? The amount of pushback they'd get from outraged parents would be ridiculous if they did. Buttercup could see something wasn't adding up, but went along to gather information. But she had a sneaky suspicion to watch over the green bean. Something is telling her that a certain hobo-looking teacher has his eyes set on him. You can't send one of us home, I mean we just got here. Even if it wasn't the first day. Ochako protested. Oh, and you think natural disasters are? He asked sarcastically, but it was enough to shake them. Or power-hungry villains or catastrophic accidents that can wipe out whole cities. No, the world is full of unfairness. It's a hero's job to try to combat that unfairness. If you want to be a pro, you're gonna have to push yourself to the brink. Now the girls knew that the world was not fair. Growing up they realized that situations will come up and test them without warning, and they as superheroes had to find a way to fix. First test, 50-meter dash. The test begun with Ida and a girl with frog-like features taking their places at the starting line. Both Ida and the girl had mutant-type quirks. Their times were impressive, though Ida clocked in at just over 3 seconds and the girl at about 5.5 seconds. Ochako finished in just over 7 seconds and seemed pleased with her result. The sparkling blonde and the pink girl both finished at just over 5 seconds. Though the pink girl appeared to be skating on some kind of substance coming from her feet. Blossom, picking up at her strategy, was creatively turned her side of the track into an ice rink, where she was able to skate and passed Shoji, with a score of 5.50 seconds. Bubbles took note of the sparkling boy and instead of running, she sent sound waves into her feet that propelled across the track and tying with Tokoyami with 6.04 seconds. Buttercup was paired with an invisible girl. It ended with Buttercup getting at least 4 seconds while she got 8 seconds. Finally it was Izuku's turn, and the universe seemed to still be messing with him since he was paired with Bakugou. Bakugou got 4.13 seconds while Izuku got 7.02 seconds, much to his dismay. The grip test. The top two were of course Buttercup with a score of 600 kilograms, Shoji with a score of 540 kilograms. Flexibility test. There were not many people that could compete with Bubbles when it came to being flexible, aside from Mina and the invisible girl. She even showed off some gymnastic tricks until Blossom reminded her it wasn't the time for that. Long jump test. The girls tied here with each other, with Buttercup practically flying, Bubbles jumping over the whole pit and Blossom showing some impressive skating over the whole thing, catching the sight of two certain boys. In sit-ups and side-to-side jumps, Buttercup won out of them while Blossom took the ladder with her chilling breath. The ball throw test. Being that Blossom already completed her own test, she did not have to repeat it. As the others were doing their best in the test, Bubbles already accomplishing hers with a sonic scream that not only made her classmates cover their ears for the entire time but got her at least 608 meters, which she was perfectly happy with as she skipped back. Buttercup was known for her competitive streak and took the opportunity to smirk at it. This was not lost on to Blossom, who knew where this was heading to but prayed it wasn't enough to cause problems. Igniting herself with short spark of energy before Melon's covered he ball with that green energy, she tightened her grip and winding back, she let loose on the ball. It blasted far enough like a rocket before landing down at a great distance, giving her a grand total score of 900 meters. That left her feeling really happy as she gave a sly smirk to her sisters, which were met with a huff and an eye roll. She did not take the time to see that the other students were shocked at that display. They somewhat knew of these certain vigilantes that were going on the news, but did not expect such power from any of them. Oh wait, there's more to come. Izuku was simply amazed at her own control over her quirk. That record was short-lived when the bubbly brunette basically made her ball disappear into the stratosphere, chalking up to infinity. Which left some people's attention to shift to her instead, much to the relief of the elder sister. Taking her mind of the sheer ridiculousness, she spotted that it was Izuku's turn and she could clearly see that he was feeling nervous. She wanted to know what's the matter, but before she could, Midoriya. Your turn. He had said, it was time for the throw. At those words, virtually everyone turned to look at Izuku, who walked up to his spot. He looked nervous, the same way he had been looking for all of the tests. But, there was something else apparent on his face that caught everyone, specifically Buttercup, off guard. A look of sharp focus and resolved determination. Everyone would soon know why that is, as soon as Izuku was given the ball and was ready to throw. For a second, he stood still. But that quickly ended as he planted his feet firmly on the ground, leaned back, and started to throw the ball. A look of sheer motivation on Izuku's face was visible, as his arm flashed by in a blur. But what truly surprised everyone was that when his arm moved, green light and energy swarmed his arm and the ball. With that visible indication, it didn't take long for people to connect the dots. Izuku was using his quirk. His highly destructive, bone-breaking, consequential quirk. That soon was obvious to Buttercup as well. But as quickly as the green energy came, it completely disappeared. Izuku stumbled forward, dropping the ball next to him, hardly an inch away from him. Judging from his wide eyes and bewildered expression, he hadn't intended for his power to suddenly evaporate. But, as Aizawa spoke, it was clear that he had. That's enough. Before you tear yourself apart. Everyone looked at Aizawa, who was swiftly walking towards Izuku. He didn't look like his usual tired and bored persona. Instead, his once lifeless hair was now waving around by an unseen wind. His scarf looked like gray snakes as they spiraled around his neck and stretched out. And his eyes, which were once gray, were now bright red. Everyone backed away a few inches, clearly startled, as they had never seen this side of their teacher before. And, clearly, neither did the girls. What the hell? Buttercup mumbled as she gulped, how can he do that? As soon as people around them started to mutter and whisper to each other, Buttercup got her answer. Is that Mr. Aizawa's quirk? No way. Mr. Aizawa is Eraserhead? For real? No joke. Bubbles frowned. Who's Eraserhead? Blossom's eyes widened as she looked at her teacher, as she remembered all of the research about Eraserhead she had conducted. Her extensive knowledge of pro heroes came in handy. Eraserhead's a pro hero. He may not be a well-known one, but he is a notorious fighter. Especially when it comes to disarming. His quirk is erasure, which means that he has the ability to completely cancel out a quirk, rendering the target useless. It only works on emitter quirks, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't work on us, since we don't really have quirks, but I don't want to find that out anytime soon. Buttercup and Bubbles looked at her with shock, which prompted Blossom to smile. What? I've done my fair share of research on certain heroes. She explained. Before anybody could talk anymore, they were immediately drawn back to the scene before them, when Izuku broke his silence. Mr. Aizawa? Why did you block my quirk? Izuku squeaked. Aizawa looked visibly irritated by Izuku's questions. That's what you're wondering. Why? I'll tell you why. The judges for this exam were not rational enough. Someone like you should never be allowed to enroll at this school. You're not ready. You don't have control over your power. Were you planning to break your bones again? Counting on someone else to save your useless body? No. That's not what I was trying to do. Izuku tried to reason. No matter what your intentions are, you would be nothing more than a liability in battle. You have the same reckless passion as another overzealous hero I know. One who saved 1,000 people by himself and became a legend. But even with that drive, you're worthless if you can only throw a single punch before breaking down. Sorry, Midoriya. With your power, there's no way you can become a hero. Students gasp at that statement. Just hearing Aizawa's words felt like a kick in the stomach. Buttercup, not being far, clearly heard the whole conversation and barely held herself back from letting loose on the hobo of a teacher. He then continued. I've returned your impractical quirk. Take your final throw. Hurry and get it over with. Take my advice into account. After he said that, Aizawa finally stepped back, his scarf turning back to normal and his eyes reverting back to their normal color. As they watched this unfold, the three girls looked concerned. Poor guy, it's not his fault that his superpower breaks his bones. Bubbles protested. Buttercup sighed. Seems like everyone piles on him. But, you have to admit. Mr. Aizawa has a point, Blossom pointed out, it is risky to try and use a power that you know will hurt you, just so that your maneuver succeeds. It's also a rash decision to make, sacrificing yourself to get what you want. Buttercup looked at Blossom with a glare. Don't we do that sometimes? Blossom hesitated, recalling all of the fights that the girls have had so far. She couldn't exactly say no, as it would be a lie. She remembered many examples of the girls using a catastrophic aspect of their powers as a last resort. But, they did that because it was their last resort, not because they were reckless, right? Not giving time for her sister to reply, she marched forth to the boy. Many people were wondering what this girl was doing, even Aizawa was slightly irritated at this but wanted to see where this foolishness is going. Standing before him. Hey, You good green bean? She asked nonchalantly, as if she did not hear the verbal tongue lashing a few seconds ago. Izuku could only nod as he stared at the ball with a gloomy, beaten look. She proceeded, "Welp, if any of what the tall, pasty, and gloomy guy said is true, then you and I have a lot of talking to do about strength training and that, but right now, you have to focus and concentrate on this, pal. Forget about the others and be the hero that got you into this school or some SHT." She concluded as she left without getting a response from him. Izuku was shocked to say the least. Why? Why is she helping me, was his thought before focusing back on the ball and gathering an idea. As everyone looked with shock, Aizawa's monitor beeped, showing the score. Your score is 710.3 meters. Aizawa whispered, completely stunned. At that, cheers erupted from the class, as their shock turned into complete awe. As Izuku raised his throwing arm, it was then revealed what had happened. When throwing the ball, instead of storing power in his arm, Izuku had stored power in his finger, which he used to help propel the ball. Because of that, the only bones that Izuku broke were in his finger. Compared to the damage that could have happened if Izuku used his whole arm, the injury was severely minor. Buttercup was impressed by the turnout of this and his thinking. Though she did not like the look of his injury. Among the cheers and backhanded compliments, "Yeah, I'm talking about Mr. Fake French boy with an incompatible quirk there." Bakugou was having his jaw hit the floor at the scene he just witnessed, not bringing himself to believe it. What the hell was that? If he had a quirk, he would have gotten it when we were kids. This is impossible. He's up to something. I'm getting to the bottom of this. Hey! Everyone turned to see what was happening. Buttercup on high alert. Bakugou charged at his target, Deku, UBSTRD. Tell me how you did that, or you're dead. Izuku was freaking out at the sudden turn. Before anyone, including Aizawa, could do anything. A green flash zipped off to the rabbit boy, effectively tackling and pinning him to the ground with enough force and pressure that it caused the boy to thrash out. Everyone was shocked, but not nearly as shocked as the red and blue Powerpuffs. Oh no! Bubbles gave a whisper. Blossom gave a tired sigh. Buttercup. Still trying to get out of the girl's grip. What? Get off of me, UF girl. Shooting insult after insult. But Buttercup didn't let up. Not until you learn some manners. Get AF grip on your temper, boom boom baby. She held her position with a scowl on her face. Before she could do any more talking, a scarf tied around her and Bakugou's body, effectively stopping her from teaching the boy a lesson, much to her disdain. You two should quit it already. I hate having to use my powers willy-nilly on troublemakers like you. Do I make myself clear? Aizawa said with irritation. Bakugou yielded, but Buttercup was not responding. This gave Izuku enough time to leave the whole mess and go to Ochako. As Buttercup went to where her sisters were, no doubt to get her own tongue lashing, Bakugou can't help but be angry at Izuku. Until the exam, he was nothing. A little bug I could crush if I wanted to. Just an annoying bug that I can smash into the ground. After a short while, the points have been tallied and they all gather by the ball throw area when they're done. Aizawa stands below a big black screen with a remote in his hands. These are the results. Please do not gloat too hard. All of you could have done significantly better. First, Yaoyorozu Momo. Second, Blossom Kayama. Third, Todoroki Shoto. Fourth, Buttercup Kayama. Fifth, Bakugou Katsuki. Seventh, Bubbles Kayama. 10th, Kirishima Aijiro. 20th, Mineta Minoru. 21th, Midoriya Izuku. What? Izuku whispers. That's Midoriya. Mr. Aizawa says, ice cold, please head to the principal's office. You are expelled. There was a lot of quiet shocked gasps and chatter till. That's a fat lie and you know it, teach. Buttercup yelled from the crowd, bringing all eyes on her. Everyone wondered what she was up to. What? Izuku said, confused. With an irritated look, he addressed the problem child. Excuse me, Ms. Kayama, I am the teacher and what I say goes. You are already on thin ice for attacking one of the students, so I recommend you dash. Oh, if he knew Buttercup before saying that. What? You're going to expel me unfairly too? She sarcastically remarked. Aizawa was not playing anymore, eyes turned red, activating his quirk as he stepped forward. People were getting nervous on what he would do to her. Blossom and Bubbles were also getting nervous on what Buttercup could be up to. Without backing down, she kept her gaze. Look here, Moody, before you attempt to expel anyone, may I give you my reasons why your test is garbage? The man came to a halt. With a raised eyebrow. Explain yourself. He simply demanded with an at most chill. Firstly, pal, your somewhat marking system must be dud at best. Since you seem to have forgotten your own words when you said this was a quirk apprehension exam, not a physical fitness exam, and yet when I looked around, I saw some of these guys have quirks that do not meet the exercise system. Everyone was confused to say the least. Secondly, those guys over there, now pointing at Kaminari, Hagakure, Mineta, Jairu and Siro who flinched at that, have not shown much better than the guy you're unfairly dismissing. Your bogus exam has only proven that there are those who have not had proper physical training and their quirks are less than suited for such. What I wonder is if this was faked or you didn't do your job properly. She concluded with folded arms. There was an uncomfortable silence in the air as many could hardly find the words to respond to what has happened. Aizawa still looking pissed but turned off his quirk, and gave a sigh. I see I have real work on my hands as of this year. Very well, Ms. Kayama, you are right about the ruse. That being said. Turning to the stunned injured kid. Midoriya, you are actually placed on position 15, not much improvement but at the very least you are not expelled. Now turning to Mineta. Mineta, you are effectively expelled, as you are the last one on the list and have performed worst out of everyone. Head to the principal's office. He says as he walked off, leaving everyone on the mental and emotional roller coaster that was the first day. Now, I figure the school day's over now. Go and change, so that you can pick up the syllabus in the classroom and head home. And Midoriya, I suggest you go and get your finger checked by recovery girl. Aizawa concluded as he walked away, leaving his class stunned. To say that the first day of school was a mess was an understatement. It started out so well but now the girls mostly Buttercup are viewed a certain way and not in good one. When they left back to their homeroom, the class's atmosphere was heavy when they arrived. They were not idiots, they understood that the majority of the class now didn't like the girls. That left Buttercup to leave with a foul mood. The ride back home was really silent and all three girls were not sure how to address the situation but sooner or later it would happen. They had gotten home to find a note from Midnight indicating that she was on late-night patrol but left some food in the fridge. Dinner was uneventful at best, but it was after that settled it all. Buttercup, knock knock. Buttercup, knock knock. Come on. Open up, will ya? She couldn't ignore them forever, like seriously they live in the same house. Begrudgingly she went to open the door and her sisters were standing by the door with Blossom's arms crossed and Bubbles holding a tray of cookies and milk. Oh yeah, this would be long. Sitting at various places, they begun. Alright Red, if you came to finally chew me out, let me have it. Buttercup groaned. Blossom too a deep sigh. You know, you are one of the most stubborn person I have ever met in my life. Like seriously, you just had to stir trouble on the first day of school. Did you really think that through? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Buttercup just huffed and looked away. Blossom, I know that it was not a very good day but I agree with what Buttercup did. Bubbles piped up. They turned to the bubbly blonde. How so, Bubbles? Shifting in her chair. Well, honestly Bloss, the whole test didn't really make sense as a whole. Granted that it showed how some people are more physical keen than they are with their powers. The test did not really pan out to some of the students' quirks as Buttercup mentioned. Buttercup may have been silent, but she was slightly impressed by Bubbles' reasoning and sticking up for her. Most times if she messes up, they both let her have it, but now. Blossom sighs. Honestly, I also agree with you, Bubbles. Now it was time for Buttercup to be shocked. Seriously, you two teacher's pet. Not the best time to mock someone. Rolling her eyes, she did not pay that quip any mind. Yes, Buttercup. Although making the teacher and majority of our classmates mad at us on the first day does seem a tad too far. Oh please, the teacher is pissed because I called him out on his BS and the class is mostly mad at me, not you two. Finally she eases herself. Either way, it is not how I wanted to make a first impression on the first day. But nevertheless, you sticking up for your friend is quite admirable, Buttercup. Cocking a knowing smile at her sister as if she knew there was more to it than that. Buttercup already knowing that smile. Shvi it read. Aren't we heroes, and as such, we should help out the weak-willed or some junk like that? Shrugging as if no big deal. Bubbles giggled at that. Buttercup quickly changed the subject. How do you think our second day of school will turn out tomorrow? The question was open. The girls gave each other a quick look. Honestly, I hope we don't get any more drama like what we had today. That was scary. Bubbles responded as she took another cookie. Well, we can't really say. UA is definitely unconventional as of today. But let us just see what tomorrow brings, okay girls? Okay, they said in unison. Buttercup was reaching to get another cookie when she saw it was done. Bubbles. You greedy cookie monster. You finished all the cookies. Waving the plate to emphasize the lack of. Seriously, Bubbles, I made like over a dozen cookies for us to share, how could you eat all of them that quick? She asked, bewildered. Sorry, you can't blame me. When it comes to cookies it's every girl for themselves. She said, as if not seeing the big deal. Buttercup was gritting her teeth while Blossom just sighed. Well, I should have seen that coming. Sighing again, honestly, how do you eat so much sweets but still maintain that build? While shaking her head. She shrugged with innocent face, maybe my natural-born cuteness needs more energy. Drinking her milk as if what she said made sense. That was it. Buttercup, reaching for her pillow, tossed at the cookie thief, successfully knocking her off of the chair with a high-pitched squeal, feeling oddly satisfied. Bubbles didn't take it lying down and jumped her older sister where they both fell into a playful tussle. Blossom merely looked at her younger sister's antics before. She left with a slight twitch on her lip that was a faded smile. As she closed the door of her room, she couldn't help the thoughts that entered. I really wonder what tomorrow is in store for us. With that she retired for the night with an unsure of what to expect. In the UA staff room. It was another appealing morning and Midnight felt at ease, or as at ease when you are a pro-hero, teacher, guardian mother of 3 super-powered girls. Yes, it has not been easy and sure watching over the girls has been tricky, but she is happy to help someone in need, that's why she became a hero, to help those that are not fortunate to find it. She was going over her class's schedule when she heard a certain conversation take place between 2 old friends of hers. Occupying a table over, she saw Aizawa and Hisashi Yamada. The thunderous voice has always been unmistaken, even when he did not use his quirk. The topic of conversation was on Aizawa's problem children of the year, particularly on a green-haired boy with an unstable quirk. Midnight could not fully wrap around the whole conversation but could guess the certain student he was talking about. Unlike him, Midnight found it important enough to read over a student's file, whether they would grace her class or not. What was important was that if they caught a certain teacher's eye. It was written down that izukumidoriya was a particular late bloomer by medical standards that she could not fathom. As in, yes, quirks can come in late, around the age of 6 to 7 years of age in a child, but to have your quirk appear when the person is 14 years is quite odd to say the least. Either way, the file stated that he was deemed quirkless up until last year, and from what she saw at the entrance exam, he did not have a great grasp of such a powerful quirk. Such a shame, she thought to herself. When done, she made her way over to her two old friends. Stepping closer, a certain topic caught her interest. It serves you right, Shota. You finally got an observant student with a backbone that called you out on your BS, on your so-called quirk apprehension exam. With that he began laughing at his friend again. Aizawa left eye twitches at his blonde friend's antics. But seriously, I have a feeling that girl does not back down from what she believes in. That could definitely make her a great superhero someday, saying that he took a sip of his coffee. Shota grumbled, or a disrespectful student. She clearly has an attitude against authority figures. Honestly, her and her sisters stop a couple of incidents and now they think they are heroes. He said, eyes down at his paperwork. Oh, look at the pot calling the kettle black. You are not the poster hero for following the norms and authority of society, Shota. Giving his friend a raised eyebrow. That kid was not even meant to stay in my class, much less in this school. And I don't understand why Nizu insists on allowing those girls, much less Midoriya, in the hero course. Oh please Shota, what? My girl's giving you fight you can't win. Midnight walks over after having her ears burned off by the conversation. Shota just sighs, oh hello Namuri, care to add your unbiased opinion into the conversation about why I could be wrong? Not really looking forward to it. Oh I would love to, Shota. I particularly wanted to ask how someone with a quirk that requires the user to have his eyes wide open, be so blinded by his own biasness towards unsuspecting kids. Sitting down to face the man straight up. Hizashi just sat there, wondering how he got placed in the middle, both physically and literally. He has been friends with these particular superheroes since they all went to UA and he knew firsthand that they had different views of heroism. He could not understand Shota's brand of teaching. Like, how do you motivate new incoming kids by scaring them with a test designed to kick them out right after they have already proven themselves in the entrance exams? Oh well, he hopes that he can leave this conversation in one piece. The next day of school was as normal as can get. When the girls entered their homeroom, they were met with glares and odd looks, more specifically from 4 particular classmates, though she did not care much to deal with it now. Bakugou was busy shooting glares at Buttercup for what she did to him, and in all honesty, she would have slugged him if she had the chance back then, but whatever. Ida was acting as if she was in the wrong for going against the teacher even though he acted like a total butt. The funny thing about all this is that Izuku hasn't said a word to her or her sisters, might be because he hangs out with the zero-gravity girl and stick up his ass. She learned a long time ago, not to let her anger boil over unnecessarily, not to repeat of last time. Aside from the ridiculousness that is her class, school was far from the glamour and excitement it was bragged about to the girls. Don't get them wrong, they were not looking forward to any more of a teacher's BS, but they did expect that an institution ranked as one of Japan's leading school in heroics would be a little more exciting. As it goes, they not only teach heroics but stuff that a regular school would cover, be it math, chemistry, English grammar, which to the girls' credit they could ace with flying colors, history, physics, modern literature and modern hero art. History taught but none other than their dear guardian, who practically glowed with happiness at the prospects of having them in her class. Although they did have classes as heroics which made up for the looming boredom that plagued some of their faith in the so-called hero school. The classes were short, but what they lack in time, they unfortunately more than made up for it in the large amounts of lesson plans. Tell me again why we wanted to enroll in this school. Buttercup groaned as she had her head down on the table next to her food. It was thankfully lunchtime and the girls were enjoying the school meals. They were impressed that a superhero with a food-specific quirk was the one making all these, but then again, they're in UA. Blossom was just having her rice with grilled fish and steamed vegetables while Bubbles was enjoying a bowl of miso soup and a bowl of rice. Pausing for a minute, well, if memory serves me well, we all wanted to help people in this world just like Townsville, and I quote, show those spandex wearing jerks what real superheroing looks like. I believe those were your words. Taking another piece of fish into her mouth. I never thought it involved so much schoolwork. Like honestly, I thought it would involve more action and less fraction. She grumbled, taking another bite of her katsudon. Well, Buttercup, we do have classes like heroics. Bubbles piped up. Yeah, but our teacher is Mr. Musclehead himself. Punctuating it with an eye roll. It is kind of interesting to have the #1 hero in Japan teach our class. He is greatly admired. Bubbles said. Well, yes, he has done well for himself, but I am not a fan of him being titled the symbol of peace or such. Blossom said. Why, Bloss? It doesn't seem like a big deal. Bubbles asked, confused. Well, aside from the ridiculous notion that he has of peace being personified. From his many crime-fighting reports and interviews, he seems to revel too much in the spotlight and his attitude seems to be a bit full of himself. I agree with Bloss. She would know a little something about having a big ego. Buttercup smirked as she faced her meal. Followed by giggles from Bubbles. Blossom's eye twitched. But only sends a fiery glare across to her sister. They continue to eat and talk about the day so far, when familiar faces walk up to them with trays in their hands. Izuku comes over with an uptight Ida and a too bubbly Ochako. The girls were slightly glad at this, thinking that most of their classmates were avoiding them. They began talking, with Ida lecturing Buttercup about authority and treating elders with respect, to which she just ignores him, much to his irritation. Ochako went on to talk about how she is so excited about UA, and she then goes on to address Izuku as Deku, something not lost on Blossom. From her lessons in Japanese language, that does not sound like an intended name to give to a child. Is that one of your names, Izuku? She asked, knowing full well the answer. Feeling a bit flustered, he tells them that it is a name Kaken gave him to make fun of him when they were kids. Excuse me, but who is Kaken? Bubbles asks, confused. That would the guy who Buttercup tackled into the ground yesterday. I believe his name is Bakugou. Blossoms answered. Oh, the angry mean one. Bubbles said with a grimace expression. This makes Buttercup a bit on nerve, but Ochako interjects to say that the name sounds cute and he can totally take back the name as his own, making it a hero name. Buttercup then with a smirk, how about we just call him the Green Bean if we are going with cute names. This in turn makes Izuku to blush and smile, if not a little. Ochako dismisses the name with a smile, citing that it is a somewhat childish one and that Deku is more meaningful. Deku, not wanting to start conflict, just opted out of it and continued eating. This causes Buttercup to just roll her eyes at that, quickly resolves with a whatever. Bubbles could feel there is more to the situation than said out loud, and she decided to keep a watchful eye today. Heroics class. I am here. The familiar voice called out, and Izuku as well, the others were all in smiles. Well, most of them. Coming through the door like a hero. All Might exclaimed as he opened the door and struck a hero pose, his cape fluttering in a slight breeze. No way, I can't believe it's really All Might. Kaminari exclaimed with a huge grin. All Might is our teacher. This year is going to be totally awesome. Kirishima yelled excitedly. Oh brother. Buttercup groaned under breath at the dramatics. Welcome to the most important class in UA High, Heroics Basic Training. Think of this class as Hero 101. All Might with his signature smile. Here you will learn the basics of being a pro and what it means to fight in the name of good. He proclaimed as he pulled out a card with the word battle printed on it in big, bright red letters. Yeah, fight training. Bakugou grinned viciously as he stared at the card. Real combat? Izuku said, seemingly surprised. Well, I can agree with Tantrum Boy on something. She said while cracking her knuckles in anticipation. Yes, a battle trial, All Might grinned. But what are the keys of being a hero is looking good. With that he pressed a button on a small remote he had. From the wall emerged 20 metal cases, each marked with a number corresponding to each student's seat. For that, you'll need these. Costumes. The entire class exclaimed with a cheer. Exactly. All Might smiled. Get changed and meet me at ground beta. All Might was looking at the three girls after his speech. Maybe I can help these girls to be on the right path. Maybe my teaching expertise may be what they need, he thought to himself. But he noticed something strange happening over at the blonde one. Blossom and Buttercup had the same thought that crossed their minds and looked to where Bubbles sat, to see their hunch was correct. Bouncing in her sit with wide blue eyes, she was so excited. Closing their ears before the class or teacher realized what was going to happen. Oh my stairs. She released a deafening scream that could have been mistaken for her quirk activation. Ground beta. They say the clothing makes the man. All Might intoned as he watched the students start to emerge from the locker rooms. As of this moment you all are heroes. The class all trotted out in their hero costumes, some commenting on others' suits while some maintained a quiet, focused attitude. Though when the girls turned up, some were staring while others were a bit impressed by what they were wearing. When the girls were informed to come up with a concept for their hero costumes, Bubbles was all the more eager to start on her design and even happier to help her sisters, much to their delight. Although Bubbles was reluctant, she opted out of designing remotely dress-like for them and herself. With Midnight's added advice, and Blossom's analytical skills, they thought up something functional and stylish. With Buttercup only not wanting something too girly, they accepted. Blossom's costume comprised of a pinkish-red tunic top that was form-fitting, reaching down to her mid-thighs. A black utility belt around her waist. Wearing tights that go all the way into her red knee-high boots. The fabric is sturdy as well as slightly thick but allows her to best breath, move and perform in battles. She adorns a pink CRP top long-sleeve jacket. The boots are also very special in regard to one of her powers. The back of her jacket had a black outline design of an ice heart symbol with waves encircling it. Bubbles' costume was a bodysuit that had no sleeves but had fingerless gloves that reached her elbows. The color scheme of the outfit was a blue and black combination. The bodysuit was blue with black lines on the side, but at the mid-thigh, the colors change tone until black runs down to the legs, looking as if they were tights. She wore a blue miniskirt, the same colors as the top it was attached to, with black outlines of bubbles. She wore boots that were fitted with some Kevlar built in the soles. She wore a mask similar to Midnight, just 'cause she thought it looked cool, making Midnight really touched. Buttercup's costume was a bodysuit. The suit being green, reaching all the way to the pants with the arms, waist belt, gloves and her ankle boots are also black. She has a black holster on the side of her left thigh. Wearing a dark green hairband and a black outline of a star on her chest and a small one on her right knee. Buttercup's was made to be heat resistant, but due to her being a student and not a pro hero, her request for a more heat resistant material to be added was denied and so she would have to be careful. The girls adorned chokers that had the initials of P. Wow Bubbles, these came out better than we expected. Blossom praised her younger sister works as she looks herself over. Yeah thanks Bubs, you got the style I liked. Buttercup sent a teasing smile at her designer sister. It was no problem girls. Just glad to help. She said happily. Standing at attention to the gathered students, All Might was ready to continue. Now that you are all here, it is time to explain what is going on. In most cases on the news you see heroes battling villains outside in the city. More times however, battles are taking place indoors instead, that is where today's lesson comes in. We will be doing 2 versus 2 mock battles. Sue touched her chin in surprise to the reveal. Isn't that a little advanced for our first testing? Nonsense. In combat you must adapt to situations when it calls. While the entrance exam breaking bots was one thing, but now you are up against real people. Excuse me, but question, Dilda interrupted his speech, but are we being split by random or skill? Are we graded on performance? Momo chimed in. Are there any safety measures put in place? Blossom inquires. How much can we hurt the other team? Bakugou growled. Isn't my cape magnifique? A sparkling Aoyama yelled to the class. Which got him a few, like seriously, looks from some of his classmates. Way too many questions. The top pro yelled out in annoyance, his brain overloaded from the kids. Listen up, I shall explain. A script? Izuku and Blossom asked confused. The villain team will locate a mock bomb somewhere in the location. You are to defend your stronghold from the two heroes coming to stop you. Either the heroes capture both villains or the bomb and they win, or the villains capture the heroes or time has run out and they win. Now, all of you come and draw to see what your teams will be. Seeing the bucket in front of them, each student came and grabbed a random folded ticket. They never opened it and handed it to All Might, the brawny man reading it himself before jotting down the information. After a few minutes they were done, and he stood back up. Now that you have all drawn your tickets, here are the results. He flipped around the chart to the students to read. Team A, Midoriya and Buttercup. Team B, Shoji and Todoroki. Team C, Uraraka and Yaoyorozu. Team D, Bakugou and Ida. Team E, Ashido and Aoyama. Team F, Koda and Bubbles. Team G, Kaminari and Jiro. Team H, Azui and Tokoyami. Team I, Blossom and Kirishima. Team J, Zero and Haragake. They looked over the list and were a bit iffy about it. Well, I guess neither of us are going to be in a team together. Blossom says as if a bit disappointed. Well, we will just have to make the best out of the situation, won't we? Bubbles asked, trying to lighten the mood. I guess so. We will have to know and work with our classmates sooner or later. Blossom said. I vote never. Buttercup said with folded arms. Don't be like that, Buttercup, at least you got paired up with Izuku. Bubbles said. That at least wasn't so bad. Speaking of Izuku, he is having a talk with Uraraka. Ah, this is not fair. I wish we were on the same team. Uraraka whined to Izuku. Well, it's no big deal, he said while rubbing the back of his head. No matter what, we just need to do our best. Those words cheering her up a bit and giving up, right? Let's do this. Team A, huh? Buttercup said as she saw the list created. Hey, looks like we are a team. Izuku strode over to his team partner. Hearing the voice behind her, Buttercup turned and looked at Izuku coming her way. His new getup was practically a weird-out version of a bunny with a familiar design. She raised an eyebrow as he approached. Yeah, it seems we are Green Bean. I get you are a fanboy, but you seriously are not subtle with the idol worship, are? Wow, that obvious, is it? He nervously smiled, making Buttercup roll her eyes as if to say, yeah, it is. Now all of you, All Might declared as he dug his hands into two different buckets, the left labeled villain and the right hero. The first to be battling will be these guys. Teams D versus A. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author ChiWriters on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.